So the Russians have had a bad day. It is a really bad day. Again, I mean, Ukraine, again, just keeps hammering them, but it's different today than it was yesterday. Today, we see more Russian casualties than we've seen since July, and we see that the Ukrainians are going after Russian bases and occupied territory. Well, I'll just get into it. So here's Ukrainian defenders successfully struck the Russians in temporarily occupied Donetsk. And you see something on fire here. Well, what is it? Following a drone attack, explosions and fires have been reported in Donetsk city. Occupation authorities have not issued a statement on the incident, but just because they don't doesn't mean that we can't figure out what it is. Russian bases in the occupied areas of Donetsk region are getting hammered by drones. So they're going after Russian bases. And if I press this, you can see drones going toward something, right? That's what this was. Okay, so that's just in Donetsk. And then we saw explosions were reported overnight in Smolensk, Russia. So the smoke was seen rising over the city, with local sources suggesting a possible hit on the airfield or aircraft factory. So we see the smoke over here. What are they going after? Aircraft factory? Well, not exactly. What I think it is this. This is from Euromaidan Press. Smoke just rose over the Smolensk aviation plant last night, the factory that makes KH-59 and KH-101 missiles. So aircraft factory would have been a little deceptive. You would have thought it was planes being built, but it's a factory that's making these missiles. So again, the targeting that Ukraine's involved in is going after being as efficient as possible, going after things that are going to have a force multiplication effect of not being able to be used against Ukraine. Okay, this I don't understand. A fairly deep strike behind the front line, likely cued by Ukraine's own EW. So there's some kind of strike in Belgorod. I don't know enough about it, but it's these kinds of hits just keep coming. Okay, now this was from the Financial Times. The U.S. has been helping Ukraine carry out long-range strikes on Russian energy facilities and oil refineries for several months. Financial Times reports 3 sources told that Ukraine chooses to targets, while the Americans, based on Kyiv's request, identify the weak points of specific facilities, plan routes, altitude, timing, and tactics. So the Americans are okay. So I know people are saying like, well, Trump's never zagged. Okay, you admit that it's a zag. I'll admit that it's a small zag, and that's about where the truth is. There is a small zag, and I think since August 1st, when you saw the oil depots and oil refineries starting to be massively targeted, I think this is where this has really changed in Trump's calculus. His rhetoric changed, and you saw Zelensky going after these things. And Trump doesn't want to wave this around. He wants to be Putin's friend, so he wants to, get the Nobel Peace Prize and bring Russia to the table and that sort of thing. But he doesn't want to anger Putin or whatever. So I think he's keeping a low profile. This is just my read, my interpretation of it. But it is, the Americans are helping them in doing this kind of thing. In August and September, Ukraine sharply increased strikes on Russian oil and gas facilities and pipelines, causing energy disruptions and increasing Moscow's dependence on imported fuel. Financial Times sources say that the goal of these attacks is to weaken Russia's economy and push Putin to the negotiating table. So is it a zag? Yes. Is it a small zag? Unfortunately, it's still small, but I think it is a zag. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comments below. Another day, another combat sortie. So this is just some cool image of a Ukrainian plane flying on its way to a mission. Okay, at night, Russia launched 118 drones and 1 KH-31 missile. They shot down or suppressed 103 drones. The attack is still ongoing in several regions, so this number could go up. Again, when you get to about 150 or so, that's where the Russians are about what they can produce each day. And so it's a little lower, and we saw a little lower the other day. So they're probably starting to save up for a bigger strike within a week or so. Russia continued targeting Ukraine's power grid over the past 24 hours. The attacks left 6 people dead, 21 injured across Ukraine. This is now the norm. This is what they keep doing. Okay, 1,240. This is what's going on the battlefield. This number Again, the average would be about 1,000 Russians off the battlefield, and it's nice. It gave us this nice, clean, easy number to keep in our minds. 1240 significantly higher. This is the highest since June. One tank. Now this is interesting to me. Yesterday we talked about tanks and armored fighting vehicles. No armored fighting vehicles, one tank. So I'm not sure how to square what I saw reported yesterday and what we see in the official statistics here. 10 artillery systems and 87 vehicles and fuel tanks. So that's what we see day over day being reported, but I don't know why those other armored vehicles aren't being calculated. War in Ukraine and Russia, October 12th. This is Ragnar Gudmundsson's dashboard. The most casualties since mid-July. Engagements remain above 200. So the engagements are up, the casualties are up. Considerable losses of unarmored vehicles, and we saw that with the unarmored here is higher than it has been for a while. But again, I don't know what to tell you about those armored vehicles. Okay, just some interesting things. This guy took out a drone with a rifle. That is crazy difficult to do. You have to be a great shot and have some luck. If you do it with a shotgun, yeah, okay, I can see a shotgun. But wow. Okay, the cross direction Russian invaders conducted 46 assaults. That's about right for the number. Maybe it's a little on the medium low side. I saw this yesterday and I wasn't going to show it, but I'm going to show you the next video or the next image that will explain it. So step one, record an expensive electronic warfare system flexing that it will blank all the drones. Step two, show it burning after being destroyed by Ukrainian drones. So Russian soldier is showing off his equipment only to lose it quickly through an effective strike. That is the loss of this after a drone hit it. But they're bragging, they set this thing up and then they're taking video about it, bragging about how we've got this great electronic, remember, this is an electronic warfare system that's supposed to suppress drones. And so, yeah, we're safe. We're perfectly fine. Nothing's going to happen. Well, what happened in the meantime was this: a costly Russian electronic warfare system was destroyed by a Ukrainian FPV drone worth about $500. This is the drone actually coming into strike, and that's the aftermath. So the irony of that while they're filming this and saying and feeling like they were safe. Okay, I just thought this was a cool image. Ukrainian Mi-8 and Mi-24 with 32 and 122, respectively, drone kills on the side. It's kind of interesting. The other day, I showed you this guy who said, like, there's only 6 of us remaining out of 100. This is a totally different thing than the other guy saying this, a Russian saying, I'm a saboteur by specialty. Only 6 of us remain. There were 70. 6 remain. And that's different than what I showed you the other day. But I'm showing you this for a reason. They gather those who know how to do nothing. They spend millions on their training. They come here and they're immediately destroyed, says a Russian soldier nicknamed Gray. According to the fighter, many dead Russian soldiers' bodies remain on the battlefield. Their evacuation is not even carried out. Many bodies remain in the rubble. You walk over corpses. There's no way. You just can't tell who you're stepping on. Our 3rd Brigade got buried in the rubble. Those who were in the basement, their bodies cannot be removed. And those who live on the 1st floor were all destroyed. We used to go and collect the documents, not bodies, documents. Then we would visit the battalion commander and hand over the documentation. Later, this was forbidden because the Ministry of Defense does not like it. Personally, when the time came, I collected 70 to 80 military IDs in one day. Imagine, in just one day, just imagine how much money that is, referring to the compensation. So if you're wondering why Russia's official numbers are low, the powers that be don't actually want to admit that they've lost people. So that's half the problem. And again, they have to pay out if they have that as compensation. And so there's an incentive not to be doing this sort of thing. Okay. Just a little bit more here. Number of Indian laborers in Russia has surged 22-fold over the past 5 years amid persistent labor shortage. Well, I can tell you where the labor shortages come from. And then in Russia, all law enforcement in Ryazan will receive commission of 92,000 rubles, or a little over $1,000 for every civilian that they can threaten and tee into joining the military to die for Ukraine. Now, that's obviously some colored commentary here, but the idea is this: that I was showing showing you yesterday that they were not. They were removing the amount of compensation, the one-time bonus, or you have to wait 3 months to get the bonus, or that sort of thing. Well, it's just easier to pay people to catch them and put them in and give them a small cut of that than to give the one-time bonus now. And we're starting to see this sort of thing. I think that's the wave of the future. A couple more things. So much for defending Christianity. Russian forces dropped the FAB-250 guided bomb on the Church of St. Job. 2 civilians were killed, 5 injured, including a woman in critical condition. Toddler was evacuated after losing his mother to a strike last week, and his father and grandfather are now wounded. Yeah, hitting a church. But, of course, Darth Putin is going to come out and he's going to say, as he does so eloquently, MAGA, there's a war on Christianity. And Ukraine saying, yeah, we noticed, right? This is in Ukraine. This is what Russia is doing to churches in Ukraine. So, yeah. But the Tucker Carlson kind of narrative is that it's Ukraine that's outlawed an entire religion. It's not like that. Okay. Couple last things. So we will erase all of Ukraine off the face of the earth. What difference does it make to the West? This is the kind of stuff that comes out in propaganda. I'm going to show you something later today where they're saying, yeah, we need to pay off Democrats too, not just Republicans. Stay tuned. You'll see that. That'll be like the next video or the one after that. Just watch for it. All right, last thing. 9-year-old Ukrainian Alexandra Sasha Paskal has won gold and bronze medals in the all-Ukrainian rhythmic gymnastics competition Black Sea Cup. In 2022, she was seriously injured by a Russian strike and underwent a leg amputation. Sasha didn't give up. She went through rehabilitation, learned to live with a prosthetic leg, and returned to gymnastics. She also began ballroom dancing. This is Sasha doing gymnastics with a prosthetic leg. That's just incredible. It's like a metaphor for the Ukrainian spirit. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.